Some of you may know, only because I mention it with every other breath I breathe, that explosion is my favorite move and I will use it anytime I get the chance to in a Nuzlocke. But that's not as often as I would like, so it got me thinking, what if every Pokemon could use explosion? I'm Hextasy, and today we'll be playing through a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Platinum, but every one of my Pokemon knows explosion, and if one of them dies to anything but their own explosion, I have to restart the entire run. For our starter, we'll be taking Turtwig. I'm thinking we'll need something that can take a hit or two before blowing up in the opponent's face, and it pays off since we're able to beat our rival in their Chimchar. We head over to Sandgem Town, where we get to give them a name, and we'll be naming our team members after all of my favorite things and characters that go boom, starting with Mine Turtle. We get some new Pokeballs from Dawn, and begin catching some new combustible companions. Starting at Lake Verity, where we find Tina the Bidoof, then heading to Route 202 to grab 500 kilogram bomb the Starly. Yes, that hyphen closed parentheses is supposed to be a right arrow. Heading north past Jubilife City, we arrive at Route 204 to catch Poor Man's the Budew. The name will make sense once they evolve. And in the Ravaged Path is Dynamite the Psyduck. Once we're done catching Pokemon, we have our second rival battle. Things look a little iffy as his Starly hits us with a crit, but Tina responds with one of her own, putting us ahead. After taking them down, his Chimchar is out, and we swap to Dynamite, who beats them with a couple water guns. We get access to a few more encounters here, starting at Route 203, where we catch Mr. Torg the Shinx, Creeper the Zubat at the Orberg Gate, and Bob-omb the Geodude on Route 207. With both Geodude and Zubat caught, that guarantees us an Onix at the Orberg Mines, who we name Wrecker. With all these encounters out of the way, it's time to take on the first gym leader, Rourke. But for him, we'll just be needing one. We start with Mine Turtle, who sets up some withdraws to boost their defense until a critical hit brings them into the yellow. They then proceed to spam out Absorbs, taking out Geodude, Onix, and his Ace Cranidos to make the first gym an easy one. But not as easy as Yamato. We head back to Jubilife City, where we get to throw hands with the Bowl Cut Brigade, and we get to see just how amazing Onix's physical bulk really is. We head to Floaroma Town to continue running Team Galactic's Fade, and we evolve Mine Turtle into a Grotle, and 500 kilogram bomb into a Staravia. While we're at the Valley Windworks, we catch Holy Hand Grenade the Buizel, and then we get to take on the first Galactic Commander, Mars. She starts with a Zubat that is easily outclassed by the 500 kilogram bomb, and when Perugly comes in, we swap to Wrecker, who barely takes any damage from a Fake Out. We hit them with a Screech to cut their defense in half, and their feint attacks are dealing a little more damage than I expected, so just to be safe, we swap to Mine Turtle to use Curse before taking them out with a couple tackles to win us the fight. We'll now be heading for Eterna City with two new encounters on the way there. Route 205, where we find a Shellos, who will evolve into the greatest of all Gen 4 Pokemon in an easy top 10 West Sea Gastrodon. Our first couple Pokeballs aren't working, but they use Harden to boost their defense, so we can start throwing out a couple tackles to soften him up, or Mine Turtle can land a critical hit and kill them. That's cool too, I guess. But we still have the Eterna Forest encounter. We have the choice between a Kricketot and a Wurmple, but Kricketot takes the choice away from us and kills themselves, while Cheryl's Chansey takes out Wurmple in the same turn. Well, that's just great. Once we reach the end of the forest, we can head to the other side of Eterna City to Route 221, where we can actually catch a Pokémon. Dot the Bronzor. And we get some training in to evolve Creeper into a Golbat, who completely annihilates Gardenia so fast that I didn't have time to realize I wasn't recording any video. But with her beaten, we can enter the galactic base here in Eterna City, where we meet up with the international police officer, Looker, who immediately blows their cover by taking off their disguise in front of 4 other galactic grunts. Making our way to the top of the building, we have to take on the second galactic commander, Jupiter. She starts with a Zubat that gets bodied by Dot, and her Skuntank comes in. We survive a Night Slash and then land a Confuse Ray before swapping out to Wrecker. We hit them with a Screech, and if I'm being real, an Onix isn't going to be very useful for much longer. So we use my favorite move, Explosion. Wrecker blows themselves up alongside Jupiter's Skuntank, winning us the fight and securing Wrecker's spot in heaven. Just outside the bike shop, Cynthia shows up to give us an egg. Inside the bike shop, this balding man gives us a bike, and above the bike shop, this old man gives us an explorer's kit. We bike up and down the city streets until the egg hatches into Rico the Togepi, and we hit up the old chateau to catch TNT the Ghastly before heading down Cycling Road. Beneath the road, we catch a Machop, and you may be wondering why I didn't save the name Mr. Torg for them. And that's because I had no plan to ever use them and didn't want to waste the name. I make reference to them exactly one other time after this, but we'll be naming them after my second favorite Brawny Bomb boy, Boiled. Speaking of Mr. Torg, we evolve them into a Luxio before heading into the Wayward Cave, where our only viable encounter is a Gible. But it turns out, Gible knows Dragon Rage, a move that always does 40 damage, and we have no Pokemon that would be able to survive 2 of those, so we have to cut our losses and bravely run away. We've looped back to Orberg City, where we can revive a Shield Fossil into Bomb Squad the Shieldon, and after evolving our Budew into Poor Man's Roselia, we head into Mount Coronet, where we catch Train the Meditite. And let me tell you about this girl. A solid 21 attack IV, Adamant Nature, the Pure Power ability. This girl is going to hit like a train. We make it through the mountain and catch Hellbomb the Ralts at Route 208, and once we enter Hearthome City, we can pick up Genthru the Eevee. Now, we'll have to fight the 3rd gym leader Fantina next, and I am not confident about this fight. Fighting a Mismagius this early on could be difficult, so we need to come up with a good team and strategy. Mr. Torg, Mine Turtle, Creeper, and Holy Hand Grenade all have super effective Dark-type moves. Genthru the Eevee won't get any Dark-type moves before the level cap, so even evolving them into an Umbreon would be useless here. Dot has decent bulk and resists most of their moves and has Confuse Ray, so they're in. And for our final Pokemon, I decide to bring in Rico the Togepi. Bronzor guarantees Mismagius will use Shadow Ball, which Rico is immune to, and then we can land a Yawn and then use Explosion to switch into a Pokemon that can beat Mismagius while they're asleep without first getting hit. With our plan decided on, we head back to the old chateau to get the Dread Plate to give to Holy Hand Grenade to boost their Dark-type moves, and we can evolve them into a Floatzel. Thanks to all that running around, our friendship has raised enough for us to evolve Creeper into a Crobat, and Rico into a Togetic. With preparations complete, it's time to take on Fantina. She starts with her Duskull, while we bring out Creeper. We move first and land a Bite, scoring a critical hit for the one-hit KO. Great start. Mismagius comes in, and we outspeed them, landing a Bite, causing them to flinch. A second bite also flinches them, and Fantina tries to heal, but we take out Mismagius before they can move. Lastly, her Haunter comes in, and they finally manage to land a blow on Creeper, taking out 12 of their 88 HP before going down to a bite to win us the fight. I'm gonna be honest, I'm surprised we won first try. I thought Fantina would be a huge roadblock for us. But this next battle shouldn't be as easy as Fantina was, our third rival battle. He starts with the Staravia, and we bring out Mr. Torg, who gets their attack dropped by Intimidate, but they don't care and still score a one-hit KO with Spark. For some reason, our rival brings out his Water-type Weasel next, and they are also destroyed. Monferno is up next, so we swap to Creeper, who takes them down with a couple wing attacks, and his following Roselia doesn't stand a chance. Guess it was still pretty easy in the end. Winning here gives us access to Route 209 and the Lost Tower, neither of which will have new Pokemon for us, at least not until nighttime. But I was playing at 8:45 AM, so we'll just have to come back here later, if I remember to. I don't. But at least north of the next town at Route 210, we can catch Firework the Ponyta, and on Route 215, we get Rupturing the Kadabra. We evolve Mr. Torg into a Luxray, and then we learn a very valuable lesson. We did not have Explosion on the same move slot for every Pokemon, so it was inevitable we'd eventually cause a premature detonation thinking we were using a different move, and Bomb Squad ended up being the victim here. After their loss, we're moving Explosion to the last move slot for every Pokemon so this doesn't happen again. We arrive at Veilstone City, choosing not to pick up the free Porygon, cause screw them. But we do head south to Route 214 to nab Brachydios the Rhyhorn, and when I was putting them into our party for training, I realized we had all 4 members of the Gen 1 Trade Evo squad. Yeah, that was it, the one other Machop mentioned. We head into the Ruin Maniac's tunnel to train by genociding the Geodude population, catch Dodo Gamma the Hippopotas while we're there, and evolve Mine Turtle into my second favorite Gen 4 Pokemon, Torterra. Sure is a shame we don't have my number 1 favorite, right Torterra? I wonder whose fault that was, Torterra. Anyways, we're fighting Maylene, the 4th gym leader now. She starts with a Meditite that gets destroyed by Creeper's wing attack, and her Machoke survives a wing attack, but just uses focus energy, doing absolutely nothing before going down. All she has left is Lucario, and we lay into Confuse Ray before being hit by a Metal Claw. We swap to Mine Turtle on another Metal Claw, this one boosting Lucario's attack, and they then outspeed us to land a Force Palm. Luckily, we don't get paralyzed and land an Earthquake for the one-hit KO to win the fight. Afterwards, we need to head to Pastoria City, and we find a Houndour in front of Lake Valor, but they use Roar, ending the fight before we could catch them. But at least on Route 213, we can find Basilgoose the Chatot. Arriving at Pastoria, we head into the Great Marsh, where our first encounter is a Tangela that we are lucky enough to catch and name Sparkler. And it's here where I finally decide what to evolve Genthru the Eevee into. I've had the 5th Gym Leader's Floatzel kill Pokemon I brought specifically to counter them through an absurd amount of freezes and flinches multiple times, so I try to have a good backup, and in this case, that would be a Vaporeon. We run all the way back to Solaceon Town, pick up a Water Stone, and evolve Genthru into a Vaporeon. We also evolve the 500 kilogram bomb into a Staraptor, Dot into a Bronzong, and Sparkler into a Tangrowth, who we make sure to stack with defense EVs by committing more war crimes against the Geodude populations in the Ruin Maniac's tunnel. Before the gym, we have to beat our rival again, but his team is the same, his lack of brain cells is the same, and he sends out Buizel against Mr. Torg, and we win with no trouble. We take a quick detour to catch Megamin the Quagsire at Route 212, and we have to fight the 5th gym leader Wake now. He starts with a Gyarados that gets destroyed by Mr. Torg's Thunderbolt, and his Quagsire comes in. We swap to Sparkler on a Mud Shot, dropping their speed, but we still move first and land a Mega Drain for the one-hit KO. The Menace Hot Dog Weasel comes in, and not only does their Ice Fang never flinch or freeze us, but our Mega Drain is strong enough to fully restore our HP after each hit, and we easily win the fight. Turns out we didn't need Vaporeon. Leaving the gym, we meet up with Wake and our rival before some dingus sets off a bomb in the swamp. He runs out, calling it the Galactic Bomb, which is honestly a badass name, and I've decided that's what we're naming our next Pokemon. After chasing the Galactic Grunt down, we get access to the fog-covered hellscape of Route 210. Somehow, it's only the second worst area I've ever been through in a video game. Making it through to Celestic Town, we have our first battle with Team Galactic's leader, Cyrus. He starts with a Sneasel that hits us with a Screech, cutting our defense in half before we hit them with a Thunderbolt, missing the KO. Cyrus heals, Thunderbolt drops them back into the red, and we don't want to risk a crit from Sneasel here, so we swap to Holy Hand Grenade, who is hit by an Ice Punch and gets frozen. After taking a slash, our Citrus Berry activates, and we thaw out to land an Aqua Jet for the KO. Golbat comes in and goes down to a couple Ice Beams, and for his Murkrow, we swap back to Mr. Torg, who lands a one-hit KO Thunderbolt to win the fight. Stepping outside after the fight, we meet Cynthia, who mentions the Galactic Bomb, reminding us we need to find someone new to catch. We head to Route 218 and use a Repel to make it across the water here, so we can search for our encounter in this grass. And we get a Gastrodon. We don't let Mine Turtle near this one, and we're able to catch Galactic the Gastrodon. For the next gym, we're going to need a couple different Pokemon than what we've been using. We bust out Train and begin to EV train them, evolving them into a Medicham, and also evolving Dodogamma into a Hippowdon. Our 5th rival battle is up next, and our rival has finally learned type matchups, and instead of sending out his water type to take on Mr. Torg, he sends out his new Heracross. So we swap to Creeper on a Brick Break, and then take them out with a Fly, only for our rival to then send out Infernape. Okay, maybe he hasn't learned his type matchups yet. Fly beats Infernape, we have Mine Turtle beat his Floatzel with a Mega Drain, and Dot can use Psychic to take out his Roserade and win us the fight. Before we can enter the gym, we have to go to Iron Island to get the Strength HM, and we could get the Riolu Egg here, but we are already dangerously close to having possibly the most generic team possible, with Torterra, Floatzel, Staraptor, and Luxray, so we'll pass on that. Back at Canalave City, we can take on Byron, the 6th gym leader. He starts with a Magneton, while we bring in Train, who outspeeds them and lands a one-hit KO Force Palm. Steelix comes in, and our Force Palm only takes out about half their HP, so they're able to get a Sandstorm up before we finish them with a second Force Palm. All that's left is Bastiodon, and we go for a high jump kick, wanting to guarantee a kill if it lands, which it does, winning us the fight quite easily. Afterwards, we meet up with Professor Rowan, Dawn, and our rival, when an explosion goes off on the other side of the region. Professor Rowan tells me, a canonical child, to go after the terrorists that just bombed a lake. I have no issue with this, But first, we need to stop at the Fuego Ironworks to catch Bakudan the Magmar. I always allow myself to use trait evolutions if we meet the other requirements to evolve that Pokemon, and since we have the Magmarizer from Route 214, we can evolve Bakudan into a Magmortar. Getting back on track, we need to take on the final Galactic Commander, Saturn. We start with Dot against his Golbat, and thanks to our Persianberry, we can shrug off the confusion from their Supersonic and beat them with a Psychic. His Bronzor comes in, just to go down to Bakudan's Flamethrower, and we swap back to Dot to finish his Toxicroak with a Psychic. Our second battle with Mars is next, and it's virtually the same fight up until her Perugly comes in. We bring out the 500 kilogram bomb to drop their attack, but they then outspeed us and put us to sleep, so we bring out Train, who nearly dies to a critical hit slash, but they land a Force Palm for the one-hit KO afterwards to win us the fight. After that, we get to head through Mount Coronet, arriving at Route 216 where we catch Yamcha the Sneasel, who might be necessary for our fight with the next gym leader. And after we catch Popcorn the Swinub at Route 217, we take on that gym leader, Candace. She starts with a Sneasel, and we bring out Bakudan. They move first and land a weak slash before being destroyed by a Flamethrower, and her next two Pokemon, Piloswine and Abomasnow, both are outsped and taken out by a single Flamethrower. Her ace, Frostlass, comes in. They move first and use Double Team, boosting their evasion, which is already increased thanks to their ability, but we use Feint Attack, a move that always hits, and a second one of those nets us the win. Since it turns out we didn't need Yamcha the Sneasel, we blow them up for funsies and then use Rock Climb to grab the Reaper's Cloth, and we see that our rival has somehow managed to lose to Skunk Lady. My brother in Christ, how did you lose? She only has 3 Pokemon, and 2 of them aren't even fully evolved. Pathetic. We evolve Brachydios into a Rhydon, and you may be wondering if we'll return to Iron Island to get the Protector so we can evolve them into a Rhyperior. But we're not going to do that for 2 reasons. 1, I didn't actually know it was there until literally 5 minutes ago, well after I finished the run. And 2, Rhyperior is ugly. We break into Team Galactic's headquarters and sneak in on their pep rally. And it's here I realize Looker may not have actually blown his cover in Eterna. Turns out, in order to become a Galactic Grunt, you have to be legally blind, as not a single person sees us there despite us standing in the middle of the hall. At the end of the rally, all 66 countable grunts take the left doorway, avoiding us, but only 2 grunts are actually found after this point, meaning 64 grunts all marched through their boss's office to take the teleporter to the exit. Speaking of that boss, we're gonna kick his ass now. His Sneasel does decent damage to Brachydios with an Ice Punch and even freezes them, but they immediately thaw and take them out with a Hammer Arm. Crobat comes in and begins to chip away at our health with some air cutters while Brachydios is off lollygagging and missing a bunch of stone edges, but one eventually lands to get the one-hit KO. All that's left is his Honchkrow, and we don't miss our Stone Mist this time, scoring a third one-hit KO to win the fight. Right after is our second Saturn fight, which is almost the same as the first fight with him, the only real difference being this time we whip out Dota Gamma to dunk on his Toxicroak. We're not done messing with Team Galactic yet though, and we head through Mount Coronet to finish them off. At the peak, we get ready to take on Mars and Jupiter in a double battle, but our rival decides to butt in and fight by our side, sending in his weakest Pokemon first. Mars and Jupiter both start with a Bronzor, one with Reflect and the other with Light Screen, and we want to take out the Light Screen one. Bakudon lands a one-hit KO flamethrower on one of them, and it turns out we killed the wrong one. Luckily, they don't really punish me for this, and for the next several turns are more concerned with bullying my rival, and we completely eliminate Jupiter from the match and get Mars down to her final 2 Pokemon before we swap out Bakudon for Brachydios. Floatzel's Aqua Jet takes out her Golbat, and a Hammer Arm from Brachydios takes out Purugly to score us the win. We then watch as Cyrus gets dragged to hell, but jump in after him so we can beat him senseless for a 3rd time. While we traverse the unnecessarily long Distortion World, I should say I was not super confident while strategizing for this fight. Cyrus's Honchkrow and Weavile were just 2 massive problems, and when I was doing damage calcs, even a Pokemon as bulky as Dot would get destroyed in just a couple hits. And I was getting pretty worried that we'd have a reset here. But then I realized I was using a Gen 9 damage calculator, where Dark-type moves are super effective against Steel Psychic types as opposed to the neutral damage they do in Gen 4. So I was able to come up with a pseudo-Sandstorm team strategy that should net us the win with little chance for something to go wrong. Cyrus starts with his Houndoom, and we start with Dodogama, setting up a Sandstorm that'll take out a 16th of his Pokemon's HP at the end of every turn. They outspeed us and land a Will-O-Wisp, which is immediately cured by our Rostberry, and we set up a Stealth Rock, which will take out a 4th of each of his Pokemon's HP when they come out. We get burned a 2nd time before we can use Earthquake, allowing Houndoom to barely survive, but they then go down to Sandstorm damage. Gyarados comes in, and we meant to swap to Mr. Torg here, but because I'm playing at some ungodly hour of the night and really sleepy, I accidentally send out Dot, who's hit by a waterfall. We swap to Mr. Torg, fixing our mistake and getting hit by waterfall before outspeeding them and using a Thunderbolt for the KO. Weavile comes in, and we swap to Dot on a Fake Out. They move first and hit us below half HP with a Night Slash before our berry heals us, and we land a Flash Cannon. Sandstorm damage should KO here, but Weavile also has a Citrus Berry to save them. Cyrus heals, allowing him to get off one more Night Slash before we land a Flash Cannon for the KO, and Honchkrow is out next. We swap to Megamin on a Heat Wave, which barely tickles them, and after tanking a Night Slash, we use Explosion. Megumin kills themselves and Honchkrow. All Cyrus has left is Crobat, which Dot easily overpowers with the Psychic to win us the fight. After a quick nap, I'm feeling like I won't make dumb mistakes again, and it's time to take on Giratina. Our hungry hippo bites Pokemon Satan to death, and we arrive at the Send-Off Spring where we find a Dusclops, who will be able to evolve thanks to the Reaper's Cloth we picked up earlier. We'll be naming them after my favorite explosive stand user, Oyakamova, from Part 8. I don't know if I said his name right. We then head to Route 222 where we find another trait evolution, an Electabuzz named Bakugo. We head to the Valley Windworks to get the car battery by the river to evolve them, and you know what? I'm gonna say something controversial. I don't like Electivire all that much, certainly not nearly as much as Electabuzz. So we're just gonna blow him up. There we go. Getting back on track, we head to Sunny Shore City where we meet up with Ronald McDonald. He tells us to go to the top of the lighthouse where we flame Naruto's dad until he gets mad enough to accept our challenge. We enter his gym, nearly lose Galactic to Apache Risu, but make it to the end to challenge the final gym leader. But we have a team stacked with some incredible ground types, and the only thing stopping Dodogama from sweeping his entire team is him getting frozen by an Ice Fang. So we have to swap out to Galactic to take out his Luxray with a Mud Bomb to earn us the final badge. All that's left is for us to head to the Pokemon League to finish the game. We encounter and catch a Pelipper on Route 223 that I never bothered to name, and we enter into Victory Road. On the first floor here, we already have all but one possible Pokemon in the encounter table. A Gabite who we catch and name Bite the Dust. We arrive at the Pokemon League and have our final battle with our rival. He starts with Staraptor as usual, while we bring out Mr. Torg. They move first and land a U-turn, swapping out to Snorlax, who gets hit by a Thunderbolt, leaving them paralyzed. We swap out to Train as they use Rest, and while they're sleeping, we can land a Force Palm for the KO. Staraptor comes back in, and Train outspeeds them and uses Explosion to take Staraptor down with them. We send out our own Staraptor next, and our rival brings out Roserade. We are faster and land a Brave Bird for the one-hit KO, and Floatzel is in next. We bring out Sparkler on an Ice Fang, and we have to take a couple more of those before beating Floatzel with a Mega Drain, and Heracross is out next. We switch back to 500 kilogram Bomb, dropping their attack before we get hit to 44 HP from a close combat. Our Citrus Berry heals us up, and we outspeed them to land a Brave Bird for the KO, losing 48 HP to Recoil. Without that berry, we would not have survived. All our rival has left is his Ace Infernape, and we swap out to Galactic, who tanks back-to-back Focus Misses before landing a Surf for the one-hit KO to win us the fight. All that's left for us to do is to make our final preparations. We genocide the Ruin Maniac Tunnel's Geodudes for a third time, evolve Bite the Dust to Garchomp, grab the TMs we need, and our final team will be Dodogama the Hippowdon, Bite the Dust the Garchomp, Dot the Bronzong, Sparkler the Tangrowth, Mr. Torg the Luxray, and Bakudon the Magmortar. So let's get into it. Starting with Aaron, the Bug Trainer. We start with Bakudon, who destroys his first 4 Pokemon with a Flamethrower each, and when his Drapion comes in, it's faster than Bakudon and nearly kills them with a critical hit, but then gets destroyed to win us the first battle. Against Bertha, we have Sparkler give her team the good suck, making for another easy win, but not as easy as our fight with Ronald McDonald, who loses to Bite the Dust without being able to make a single move. It's not until Lucian, where we'll finally have to get our neurons firing. Bite the Dust outspeeds and KOs his Mr. Mime and the following Espeon with a Crunch each, and then Bronzong comes in. Our Crunch and their Psychic both take out about a third of each other's HP, so we swap to Bakudon on a Psychic and then land a Flamethrower for the KO, and Gallade comes in. We swap to Dodogama, knowing a Stone Edge is coming, and now they'll use a Leaf Blade, so we can switch to Sparkler. They move first, and on the next turn, they land a critical hit Stone Miss, and our Giga Drain doesn't heal as much as I was hoping for. We get hit by a Psycho Cut next, and after Sandstorm damage, we are brought to 69 HP. In order to preserve that very nice number, we swap out to Dot, who's barely hurt by a Psycho Cut, and we're hit by a Drain Punch before we land a Psychic, bringing Gallade's HP low enough for Lucian to heal them. It's around here that I realize I'm making things harder than they needed to be. I swap to Bite the Dust, who's brought below half HP by a Drain Punch. Their berry activates, and we then outspeed Gallade to land a critical hit Earthquake for the KO. All Lucian has left is Alakazam, but Bite the Dust is faster, and a Crunch is predictably a one-hit KO, winning us the fight. Finally, we're up against the champion, Cynthia. She starts with her Spiritomb, and we bring out Dodogama, starting a Sandstorm. Dodogama is faster and is able to land 2 Earthquakes to earn a quick KO, and Milotic comes in. We are going to be staying in, and as long as they don't score a critical hit, we should be fine. Milotic uses Surf, and we survive. Well, actually, we don't. Dodogama uses Explosion, and Milotic goes down with them. We bring out Dot next, and Cynthia sends out Roserade. Perfect for us, and we just have to tank a couple energy balls before taking them out with a Psychic. Her Ace Garchomp is brought out next, and they move first using Flamethrower. But Dot hangs on and uses Explosion. It's a critical hit, and Garchomp goes down. More like Garchomp, am I right? With just Togekiss and Lucario left, we bring in Bakudan, and Cynthia busts out her Togekiss. Thunderbolt takes out what seems to be half their HP, but their Water Pulse takes out much less, and a second Thunderbolt takes them down. Cynthia's left with just her Lucario, and we switch to Bite the Dust as she lands a Stone Miss, and we then outspeed them and use Explosion. It may not be very effective, but it's still strong enough to score the KO to win us the fight and the run. This challenge was honestly much easier than expected, and I'm surprised we got it on the first try. Comment suggestions on how to spice this challenge up for the next time. I've been Hextasy, and thanks for watching.